any talk about moving the two games outside of Houston?
Not that I know of.
And how are you guys feeling about Monday?
Feeling pretty good about Monday. As far as like the hour to hour kind of updates with this situation, it has been a little bit, I don't know if unsettling is the word, but it's just been, we've kind of had to recalibrate a few times. But as far as Monday's concerned, it seems like we're moving in the right direction.
Jonathan Fagan.
Steven, have you been able to get some of the guys back who were unable to play earlier in the week? And with that in mind, not the way you'd want it to be, but potentially helpful will it be to have a few days of practice and a few extra days to get well?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to use it. We're going to take lemons and make lemonade and practice and get better organized and let guys who have been injured get back healthy and actually have some practices, which was good. Like today, we had a good practice. It was short, but we got a lot done, more than we would usually get done with a game tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll go a little bit harder and get live a little bit more and get a little bit more detailed and stop things and change things and really be just more intentional and detailed when it comes to how we play and not necessarily worried as much about the game tomorrow because there is no game tomorrow or the next day or the next day. So it's as bad as it is to cancel games, we're going to use it to our advantage.
Did Victor or PJ, were they able to practice today?
PJ was able to practice today. Victor did an individual workout, but he didn't do group stuff.
Thank you.
Christos Saltis.
Hello, Coach. I would like to ask you, for the team, how important is to carry on the momentum of the second half against the Sixers? And what different do you expect to see the next games about the practices that we will make on the next game or the next days?
Yeah, so it is important for us to understand why we played well in the second half against Philadelphia. It was attention to detail defensively. It was getting the ball up the floor quickly. It was, frankly, making some shots and getting rhythm shots that we were able to make. But a lot of it was being spaced correctly and allowing John to play to his strengths as far as driving the ball. But, the defensive part has got to be what we are, who we are, and what we do. And that's got to carry forward from that game. What was the second part of your question? I'm sorry. I always forget.
You hear me?
Yeah.
How important? What different do you expect to see from your players on the next day, on the next games, about the practices that you will make in the next days?
Yeah. So today, one of the things that we worked on was getting the ball over the half court quicker. So hopefully that'll translate. We're going to be doing some defensive things where we're get better organized on our dribble handoff defense and our pick and roll defense. So hopefully those will get better. And then the offensive part, just like the execution part, we worked on our offensive execution today, and tomorrow we'll work on our offensive execution live. So that will hopefully improve as well. So, coming out of these 3 days of practice, hopefully we'll be an improved team.
Brian Bearfield.
Coach, just wanted to take you off the court for a second. How good was it for the players and the coaching staff, the morale of having them back home, being able to assess everything that had been going on when you all were away? What does it say about the leadership of John Wall getting out there and making sure that some families were fed on yesterday?
Yeah, that was awesome. I didn't know that he was going to do that, and I had spoken to him earlier in the day. And, that's leadership. That's caring about others, and he does that on the floor and off the floor. He does it in the locker room. And yeah, it was great to get home and see my family and for all of us to check in and see what's been going on here. We were away and we'd been hearing about it and reading about it, but you don't really get a good feel for what it is until you're there. So for us to be home and be able to assess damage, to help wherever we can help, to understand the importance. You really, in a situation like this, you really kind of get a feel for how much you take things for granted, right? Like you take water for granted, you take electricity and heat for granted. And we're blessed to even be in a situation where we take those things for granted. There are people who live every day of their lives and don't take electricity as a given and don't take clean, potable water as a given and don't take a meal as a given. So it just kind of makes you feel blessed to be able to go to a place where you didn't have electricity and now the electricity's on and you have internet and you have all of the things that we just take for granted on a day-to-day basis. It really makes you just feel like you're very blessed, but it also makes you feel like you want to help and you want to make it to where people who don't have the luxury and the comforts of electricity every day and heat every day and water every day and internet access every day. You just want to help.
Mark Berman.
Stephen, does it make it any tougher not being able to play given what y'all have gone through the last 7 games?
Does it make it more difficult to play?
Make it tougher not be able to get back out there and get that taste out of your mouth, if you will, that kind of thing.
Not really. We got a lot of things that we have to work on. So we're focusing on those things and making sure that when we play against Chicago on Monday, we are more than prepared for that game and have cleaned up a lot of the things that kind of get, I wouldn't say glossed over, but there's only so much film you can watch when you're actually doing it on the court and stopping and, for lack of a better word, rewinding on the court. Things get cleaned up a lot better for me, at least. Practice is such an important part of it, and not having that practice time has been hard. So we're looking at this as an opportunity to kind of reset and get back to a point where when we were winning games and playing well.
Is there an update at all on Christian?
No update on Christian. He's doing his rehab and slowly getting better.
Adam Spollen.
Stephen, you mentioned practice. It sounds like you guys are going to be able to have 3 straight days of practice. Does it almost feel like, in a sense, this is a mini training camp?
Yeah, a little bit. We had a staff meeting today and talked about the things that we want to get done. We had to prioritize things, and we don't want to be jumping all around as far as trying to plug all these different holes, but we really are going to take our time over these 3 days and concentrate on the things that have been plaguing us. So I wouldn't say it would be more like a training camp situation, because overall we still have injured guys and we still don't want to put too much of a load on them and whatnot. But we have 6 games prior to the All-Star break, and we're going to have to make some hay in these 6 games, and we're going to use these 3 days to be prepared for Chicago and then the subsequent games. But it will be similar to training camp, because our training camp was so short and our training camp was a little bit disjointed. So it'll be good for us to kind of get right back to like building a foundation of what we want to do on both ends of the floor. So in that way, yes, it will be similar to training camp.
Jonathan Fagan.
I was just going to follow up on Victor being able to do individual workouts today. Is there a hope that he can begin practicing with the team in one of the upcoming days? And how valuable is that to sort of get him going again? He was struggling a little bit at the time he got hurt. How important would it be just to get in a routine for him to be able to get in sync again?
Yeah, it's very important. And he was able to be on the floor when we were kind of cleaning up our offense, putting in new things. And yeah, it's going to be, hopefully he will be able to practice one of these next couple of days. And we have to make sure that he's able to kind of get to where he wants to be. And on the offensive end, especially, he's such a good defender. And I keep telling him, like, I need to make sure that I am being intentional about helping him play on the offensive end. So putting in some things, reiterating some things. I think getting the ball over half court quicker will help. But yes, the practice time will definitely help build that chemistry amongst the group. And like, he's been here for, I don't even know how long, maybe a month. And we maybe had like 3 real practices since he's been here. The rest has been walkthroughs, video, games, and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's important, and hopefully he'll be able to participate.
Thank you.
We'll take 2 more. Brandon Scott.
Hey, Coach, earlier you mentioned y'all working on, dribble handoff and stuff like that. I'm just curious, how much of your stuff have you actually been able to implement over this time? Like, how much of it would you say you've actually been able to work on, and how much of it is just kind of working on the fly?
On the defensive end, we're pretty close to where I'd want to be as far as our coverages. And the thing about the NBA today is there are so many different, you can't just kind of play things. It used to be, like back in the day when I first started, you could have like one way that you play things and it would work most of the time except against the great players. But now there's so much versatility on the floor, you have to have multiple ways of defending dribble handoffs, whether it's guard to guard or big to guard or against a primary scorer like Zach LaVine, or if it's against a guy who's not necessarily a great shooter but is a great driver, you have to have a different coverage for that. And then, there's just so many like parts to it. So I would say defensively we're a little bit closer as far as getting all those layers and making sure that everybody's on the same page. Offensively, to be honest, I don't think we're even close to where I want us to be. So a lot of that is practice time, being able to do things full speed and stop and correct. And we're going to take advantage of this time to kind of get to it, because as the numbers indicate, our offense hasn't been great. And part of it is, we haven't had the practice time to kind of do what I envision offense to look like.
And last question, Kaylee Griffin.
Hey, Coach. First, I hope your family's doing okay. I can't imagine what they're going through having just moved here. But the team also announced earlier that you signed Justin Patton to a 2-way contract. I'm just curious if you've had any chance to talk with him, what you know about his game. I know he's bounced around the NBA a little bit, but he was not with the Vipers down the G League. He was actually with the Westchester Knicks. So what you've seen from him and what you're kind of expecting from him.
Yeah, so he was good in practice today. He is really a big guy and moves well on the floor. He rolls and pick and rolls. He can pop a little bit, but his thing is like, he's excited to be here first and foremost. A lot of it has to do with having an opportunity here to play some, but I'm sure some of it has to do with getting out of the bubble in the G League bubble, which is a natural thing for a young guy. But yeah, he's a long, talented. Defensively, he was good today as far as his help, and we're just trying to get him kind of acclimated. But offensively, he like pick things up so quickly, like quicker than I ever thought he would, because we didn't have a chance to really sit down. I think he got here just before practice started, or maybe an hour before practice started, and had to sign a bunch of things and whatnot. So for practice, he was just kind of making it up, but he was in the second group, and he watched the group in front of him, and he executed the things, and he, after practice, talked to our video guy and made sure that he's going to have an iPad to go home with, and he's going to study, and then I'm going to watch more film with him tomorrow, so he's more comfortable with what we're doing. But like you said, he's played NBA games, he's been on NBA teams, and he kind of knows the deal. And it's good for us because we need depth at that center position.
Thank you, Coach.